right, everybody, I think we're going to get started. Has everybody got their wine, their snacks? Okay. So we're going to do this panel for about 40 minutes, maybe a little less, right? So hopefully everybody has a drink. If you don't, flag your waiter. Can I get everybody's attention? Are we still like eating, drinking? You know, I love actually the energy in the room because that means people make friends and you're having a good time. So, but we're going to take some attention today for this incredible panel of these gentlemen here. I'm glad they invited a woman to moderate this. So, all right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joanna Ntiva, and for those of you who don't know me, I am the legacy CEO of MXO Tech. I see a lot of MXO clients. I'm sure there's 3-point clients, but now we're all part of Ntiva. So thank you for coming. Just a little history. I started putting this event together about 6 years ago. And I'm really excited to continue the tradition. Thank you, Stephen, and the leadership team of Ntiva for allowing me to do this. The purpose of this event is to show our appreciation to our clients, right? There's a lot of IT companies that you could work with out there, but we wanted to make this a community, and that's what we are together in a partnership. It gives you an opportunity also to meet with your account managers, some of the leadership team members, some of our partners here from ConnectWise and Datto. And the other reason today, which is something a little different that we did, I think it was Stephen's idea, was to talk about the latest technology trends. And I think that's really important, right? Because what do you expect from your IT company? We provide great help desk support, security, cloud solutions, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But we want to talk about the innovation and what's coming up. So that's why we have the panel here today. So we're going to start a little bit with some of those topics of cloud and security, but then we're going to go to AI. For those of you who don't know, artificial intelligence. All right. So I also would like you to think about some questions that you might have as these gentlemen are speaking today and answering the questions. And then hopefully if you've made a friend, colleague, someone that you want to work with, and you don't have a business card, because I don't know, people aren't doing those anymore, pull up your iPhone, get your LinkedIn app out, and in the search button where it has your like picture and your name, there's this little square box. You click on that and you get a QR code. I don't have my phone because it's recording, but you can scan each other's information, connect. Because I don't want you to forget to connect after this event. We don't want this to be a one-time thing. We want this to be a journey and something that we do going forward. All right, let's see. What else do I want to say? Nothing. All right, great. I've covered all my points. So I'm going to just do a quick bio introduction. So, Stephen over here, right? Stephen's the CEO of Ntiva. You know, these are kind of long bios that I have, so I'm going to just kind of go off my memory. Stephen, I know, is super excited right now by AI. He's a technology geek, started at 19, unlike me, and now is a passionate CEO here at Ntiva, innovating, and I know he's the first person that wants to talk to you about artificial intelligence today. So Stephen, thank you for being here, flying in. I think he was at like another city, and then he flew in for this. All these gentlemen did except for Kevin. So thank you for that. Kevin is how I met Ntiva. His partner introduced me. He's from 3 Points. Him and Steve Bankey started 3 Points here in Chicago. They merged with Ntiva. I was competing with them, so they decided that why not just have me come on board. That's why a lot of you ladies are here today, right, through MXO Tech, to break up the room a little bit. But so Kevin is, he's the Chief Client Officer. And what I love about that title is because if anyone has any compliments, complaints at all, goes to Kevin and his team. All right, the other thing about Kevin, just something personal, Kevin went through a tragic experience in his young life, so now he dedicates a lot of his time to young people, helping them through this process here in the Chicago community to mentor young children and professionals. And if you want to hear a little bit more about that nonprofit organization that him and his family started, helping children, being a role model, please talk to him afterwards. I skipped this part, but I forgot to tell you a little personal thing about Stephen. He did not share this in his bio, but he has 5 children, a beautiful wife, and a little dog. So that's his side hustle, okay? But right now he's the CEO of Ntiva. All right, Michael Diploma. I've known Michael and Jay Ryerson for a long time. Some of you might remember them because they were speakers here for MXO Tech. And Michael is the Vice President of Business Development in North America, so that tells you it's a big company that he works for. Datto, which I think all of you probably know because you have their backups. He's frequently presenting alongside members, I thought this was impressive, Department of Homeland Security and FBI. So he knows a lot of stuff about security, and that's going to be one of my questions for him. He's also very focused on the IT managed services industry. So what I really like about that is all of you here utilize the MSP services of Ntiva, and that's Michael's focus. I know I asked him a personal question, and he likes fantasy sports. I don't know what's so fantastic about that, because I'm not into sports, but they are fantasy for Michael. Okay. Jay Ryerson. I've known Jay a long time. Jay and I used to have an MSP. He sold his, I sold mine, but we're still together, and he is now the Vice President of Cybersecurity for ConnectWise, and he's driving all of their security initiatives, as well as educating the MSP community. I know Jay, we talked about it because he came over to my house today, we had lunch. I was questioning him with all these things, and he said he educates like 24,000 people, maybe it was 2,400, I don't know. But a lot of people, he's educating them about cybersecurity, so this guy knows what he's talking about. What I love about Jay is he had an MSP, he sold it, he started another security company, he was super innovative, sold that, and now he's with ConnectWise, which is a really big company because they're the platform that we use for our ticket automation and everything else related to customer help desk support. Jay also is an author and a self-published author for a book titled Technology 101 for Business Owners. He's received a lot of awards, and he's a certified CISSP. I won't go into that. He has a wife with a combined 4 children. He lived in all kinds of places, but they just bought a home in Denver. So that's where he's going. All right, without further ado, so these are all the amazing panelists. I am going to start with the questions because I think everyone here is excited for the answers. Right? Can I get a yes? Awesome. Okay, before we go into AI, we're going to cover a couple questions that are still related in today's world to security, customer retention, all those kinds of things. So, Kevin, I'm going to start with you. So, given that many of us are still in a hybrid environment, I know Ntiva is, we have several offices, but we also work from home. So given that we're in that environment, can you give us your top 3 best practices for ensuring teams remain productive and engaged?
Sure, thanks, Joanna. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here tonight. Of course, it comes from the Chief Client Officer, right? I just wanted to say thank you. I hope I get an opportunity to meet all of you at some point. I live here in Chicago, so super excited that you came out tonight. To answer your question, the remote world has been an interesting place, obviously, since COVID for all of us. I feel like we're going through this new work revolution almost, right? Where, we're being challenged to do things differently. At Ntiva, one of the things we do is we really empower, right, our employees to make the decision whether or not to come in or, to come in, don't come in, whatever. But we also give them opportunities throughout the month to get together and socialize with those, in the company. So we do company lunches. We even had a talent show one time. It was great. We got to find out some cool things about people that work for us, which was pretty fascinating. So I did make a note on a couple things just so I don't forget anything. But the three things I would say is one, a lack of clear expectations. As someone in my role, I had a business mentor in my career that said, to be unclear is to be unkind. I'm going to say that one more time. To be unclear, right, is to be unkind. And so it's really, really, especially in a remote world, making sure that you're setting clear expectations for your staff. One of the things we do, we run, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the EOS method through Traction, the Entrepreneur Operating System method. We actually use that in our company. And it kind of gives us one common language. It gives people accountability for metrics, and we talk and collaborate about issues weekly. We talk about employee and customer headlines. We've got to-dos. It's a system that we use that really helps to keep us on track in terms of where we're going, and it helps us to focus on things that are most important. And it helps our people as well. Two, I would say, is an inadequate work environment for your infrastructure. Before it was like people would call up at COVID and they'd say, we need all of our people to work remotely today. And we're like, yes. Unfortunately, you have to get in line. And people had to buy software. They had to do things. They had to, do things that they didn't do before. And, we got through all of that. And as you guys all know, Microsoft Teams is the way of the future. I mean, everything I do today is in Teams. I chat people internally. I get on video calls with customers. I share documents, right? We do all types of things in there. We even get our phone calls from Teams. So through one app, it brings everything together for an experience for us and our customers and our people. So that's pretty cool. And last is really just, the one thing that I think is most important in a remote world is we neglect to remember the well-being of our people. I think it's really important to not forget that. When you're not connected to people daily, when you're working in a hybrid type community, sometimes you forget about that. You forget about the well-being of your people. So, I think taking breaks, making sure they have a good work-life balance. And one of the things I do in the middle of the day is take a walk with my wife. The days I walk versus the days I don't walk, I'm actually less stressed out, and I'm actually more effective at work. So those would be three things that I would say. Joanna.
I love that. So first of all, my husband is too busy because he works at Ntiva too, but we got to take more walks. Thank you, Kevin, for that approval. I would like everybody to say, to be unclear is to be unkind. I love that. Thank you, Kevin. All right, moving right along to Stephen. So, Stephen, I know you really want to get to AI, but I'm going to ask you a question unrelated to that, so please don't talk about AI. As you think about the many clients that we serve here at Ntiva combined, what next generation technology do you think will be a competitive advantage for them?
Thanks, Joanna, and I do want to just take a moment and thank all of you for coming out here. Without you, we couldn't exist, and apparently I couldn't have my side hustle. But in all seriousness, truly grateful. Without you, we would not have a company, and it is an honor to be here with you tonight, and I look forward to getting to spend some time with each and every one of you. To the question that Joanna asked, look, I've been in this industry now for about 25 years, and I've watched these cycles go on, where technologies come out that are a competitive advantage, and then very shortly thereafter, they become a competitive necessity. And our job as your IT support is to help you know what's coming next. So to Joanna's question here, where we feel the next opportunity is, just like I'll share some of the last, right? So you had security, as a huge opportunity to separate yourself from competitors. Today it's a necessity. Before that, being in the cloud, having software as a service applications, they started as an advantage, and today they're a sheer necessity. The next one that's coming around is really what's bulked into a category of what I would call digital transformation. And that's the ability to take the applications that you all use and start to look at your individual processes in your company and get those applications to be customized to do it. Or maybe you have multiple applications in play, get them to connect so you take steps out of your process, remove double data entry. So we're very excited about that, and we've been making huge investments to bring that in, not just to our mid-market and enterprise customers, but also to the small businesses that we serve.
All right, thank you, Stephen. I don't know if I have anything else to repeat right now, but I know I'm gonna save that for the AI talk. All right, Michael DePalma. All right, so I'd like you to talk a little bit about cloud. So we looked up some statistics, and as of 2022, like later in 2022 at the end, 60% of all corporate data is stored in the cloud. How can businesses best leverage cloud technologies to increase efficiency and reduce costs? And I know a lot of people think like going to the cloud, reduce costs. Does that really happen? What is, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we in the IT industry have been talking about the shift to the cloud for probably close to a decade. And I think what happened with COVID, it really accelerated all of us 10 years in a matter of 10 months at a necessity. And to Kevin's earlier point, I mean, we live and breathe off of Teams, most of us, right? It's both the best thing in the world and like the bane of my existence, because you're up all night, people always have access to you. But that's the way that business is done right now. And coming from a company like Datto, where our bread and butter was backing up on-premise Windows-based servers. And we saw that 6-7 years ago that, hey, there's going to be a shift from the cloud, up to the cloud from this on-premise base. And so the companies that were prepared for it, or the folks like Ntiva or MXO, because we've known each other for a long time, that were preparing for this move, those were the companies that were able to succeed when COVID hit. The folks that were able to say, okay, we're already prepared for this work from anywhere environment. Our company right now, we're all in-office company. There's a lot of folks that are all work at home, there's hybrid. The bottom line is this environment is here to stay, regardless, right? Nobody calls my cell phone anymore. I send you a Zoom invite, a Teams invite, all these different types of things. And so the ability to say, not only is this the way that we need to operate, but also think about your bottom line at the end of the year with all the on-premise hardware. Your IT budget tends to go like this. You don't really know what's gonna happen. Whereas a shift to the cloud, you really know exactly what those costs are going to be. So it's not only just a cost center, it's an IT cost center, we need to spend some money on it. It really does differentiate you within your space, whatever market you're in. If you have the ability to attract talent from really anywhere in the area or anywhere on the globe, because they can still have access to all their tools regardless of where they're sitting, it's a true differentiator for you.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point, absolutely. I mean, I know at MXO, we started to really grow because we were able to, especially for our digital transformation side of the business, attract employees through all over the United States. How many of you use Datto, by the way, here? Can you raise your hand? Okay, good amount of people. Some people need to talk to Mike. All right, so Jay, I'm gonna move on to you. So Jay, you and I have also known each other for a long time, and when we started in the MSP space, cybersecurity really wasn't a thing. Nobody was talking about it. We were talking about response time, answering the phone, but not cybersecurity. Now, 43% of cyber attacks are targeted at small, mid-sized businesses, and cyber costs are rising to $10.5 trillion by 2025. How are and should companies be addressing the growing concern over data privacy and security in today's digital landscape? Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, that's a lot. And it's interesting how security is always last in the conversation. When today it probably should be first, but we'll have that offline. So the reality is that, and the FBI has been reporting on this for several years, nearly half of all attacks start with email. Somebody gets an email, they click on something, nothing bad happens, they don't think anything of it, oh, it must just been a bad link, and they move on, and then days later, bad things happen to a business. When you think about all the things you've heard so far, from Stephen all the way through to Mike, what we're really talking about is you're now asking your teams, and more importantly, Ntiva and your IT infrastructure, whatever those tools are, to protect every user on every device from anywhere in the world, any time of day, connecting to any source of data. So Teams is with Microsoft, which could be in one of a gazillion places around the world. Well, probably in Chicago, it's still out there. Salesforce is somewhere else. Dropbox, QuickBooks, all the business line tools that you use that are cloud-based now have to be secured. And so when you start thinking about how you're going to look at all of these things around technology, especially in a work-from-home environment, it's different. Do you want your employees working on company resources on their personal computers that their kids doing homework on, or playing video games? I'll never forget, it wasn't that long ago when my kids were much younger, and I'm driving down the road and the kids have my phone, they're playing video games on there. They're young, they don't know any better. And my son says, "Hey Dad, give me your thumb." He wants me to authenticate so he can download some new software on my phone, which, oh, by the way, has my company data on it. Right? And you're all thinking this like, oh yeah, I've been there before, but it's happening to all of us, especially if it's a side hustle.
There's 5 of them.
And a dog. So just remember, when you're thinking about security, what it means to secure your data, at the end of the day, it's how we're going to manage risk. Some risk we're willing to tolerate. Some of it we can't afford to, because you've got secrets, you've got employee information, you've got PHI, you've got PII, what was the other one we're talking about? PCI, you got credit card transactions with my thumb. All these things are happening that we have to be aware of. And oh, by the way, the new thing is not the thumb anymore. Now it's like, Dad, smile. Because there's facial recognition from your phone, and you have no idea what it just did to your phone. So again, any user, any device, anywhere in the world, any time of day, to any source of data, and you have to understand where it is, how it moves, how it's transacted, so that you can then decide how best to secure it. I know that Ntiva looks at these things on your behalf, but you should be asking the questions about, hey, what does this really mean to us and to your business? And I think that if you get that right, everything else you're going to hear tonight is going to make a lot of sense.
Thank you, Jay. I have 3 kids, so I've definitely gotten the "show me your face, Mom," but I did, unfortunately, because I didn't talk to you and I didn't listen to this panel ahead of time. So I hope all of you are listening today and not giving you thumbprints and faces to your children, especially on your business device. Right, business owners? Mm-hmm. All right, so let's go to AI. Stephen, I'm going to go back to you. All right, so how can AI be used to enhance customer experiences and engagement, which I know is Kevin's favorite topic? And what are some of the best practices for doing so? And then when I'm done asking you that question, I'm going to ask you another one that says, how is Ntiva leveraging AI, and maybe how are you doing it to benefit yourself and the overall organization, our clients?
Thanks, Joanna. That's a lot.
Yeah,
I'm going to just take them in a little bit of a different order, if that's okay.
Please.
So first and foremost, this technology is one that's been under development for years, and it's just coming to the mainstream in the last few months. And about 7 months ago, I had a colleague of mine challenge me with something very simple. And it was 15 minutes a day, doesn't matter if it was personal or business, engage with ChatGPT or an equivalent AI engine, and just see what you use it for. And I accepted that challenge, and I want to encourage all of you today, and I'll give you some kind of best practices around how to do this. If you have not been doing this yet, please do it. It's really important that we understand that this technology is here, it's here to stay, and we have an obligation to ourselves and all the people that we work with, and frankly, society, to understand how it works. And it's pretty freaking cool, but a little scary all at the same time. So I accepted this challenge, and over the 7-month period, I tried lots of different things, from write a rap song for my wife for her birthday to a poem for my kid in a certain syntax. And then recently, I just started to keep it up during the day and try different tasks that I otherwise would have done very differently. So I'm going to give you just one example today, and then hopefully at some point we can hear from the audience on some ways that they've used this. But just this is a personal story, but it was for the business, right? So I get a 38-page contract sent to Ntiva for a relatively small amount of dollars each year to provide us with a service that we need to help us grow. And I get this giant contract, and it's like so many pages, and I put it into ChatGPT, which I have open on my screen at all times, and I prompt it with, please summarize this PDF for me. As the buyer of the services, point out what risks may exist to me, and highlight some ways that I could mitigate these risks with this vendor. Took 13 minutes. 13 minutes, it was really long. I was like really impatient. I had to go get coffee. It was really annoying. And I come back to my desk, 3-paragraph summary of this 38-page contract, 14 bullet points highlighting risk, and 6 ways proposed with language for me to send to the vendor to mitigate those risks. Now, of those 14 points, 9 of them made a heck of a lot of sense to me. 5 of them were like, what the hell is this talking about? But you can tell where this is going, right? So don't worry, guys. Your lawyers are safe if you were worried about them, at least for now. But these are the kind of things that I want you all to be thinking about every day, because there are opportunities. We talked about this before, competitive advantage, right? We are still at a point where this can be a competitive advantage for everybody's lives, right? So just go out there and experiment.
Well, Stephen, you did say don't worry, guys, but you did not say don't worry, Kelly, your legal counsel at Ntiva. So I just want to make sure she knows her job is safe. Okay,
Yeah.
Just checking, Kelly, you're all good. Give me a head nod.
Thanks, Joanna. So, is there, I want to open this up. Does anyone have, the idea of tonight is to collaborate and share and grow together, which, for those of you that will have, that have not gotten to know Ntiva yet, is our purpose, right? We exist to grow each other. And tonight I would really encourage you all, have any of you been using these tools personally or in your business? And has there been any interesting story, like the one that I just shared, to summarize a PDF and highlight risks and define ways to mitigate them, that you all have done that then can be shared with this audience? And
I love that idea, Stephen. Thank you. And by the I don't even have to offer a prize. All right, everybody has volunteer. Okay, I'm gonna walk over and give you my mic. What was the prize? I don't know, but it's a good one.
If anybody's ever been to a board meeting and has had to transcribe,
Say your name and where you're from.
so I'm Rita Ramirez from Allies for Community Business, and I've been present in a number of board meetings that have lasted anywhere from 1 to 3 hours. And if you use software like Otto to transcribe it, and you're looking to just get meeting minutes for the 3-hour-long meeting, then I definitely recommend ChatGPT.
awesome, thank you, great share.
All right, well, that's wonderful, especially because I know we have a lot of nonprofits here.
And we've also got this.
Yes, I was coming along.
I'm gonna bump you. We've
All
got.
right, go for it. Yes, thank you to Julie. Thank you, Julie.
My name is Juliana Holt, and I'm with the Accreditation Council for Continuing Medical Education. We're a regulator for medical education for physicians in the U.S. We use ChatGPT to ask questions about the best way to introduce digital innovation in CME, and it was very surprising and very helpful. Because interestingly enough, the feedback that we got from ChatGPT actually mirrored the things that we had been suggesting But interestingly enough, because it came from artificial intelligence, it seemed like it had some additional weight. And we continue to use that. So very
Yeah,
useful.
artificial intelligence is super confident. And
Thank
by
you.
the way, just to the two pieces that have come, I want to get two just warnings, right? So it can be confidently wrong, right? So let's keep that in mind. It's confident in everything, whether it's right or wrong. So always validate. And for those that are using it to transcribe board meetings, think about where those notes are going to. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute.
Well,
Just two things.
Yep, absolutely. So thank you. Like, this is good start. I actually also wanted to ask the panel, one of the things I wrote down is for the panel to talk about AI and as it relates to automation, security. And the big thing that was on my mind is the future of employment, right? I mentioned to you that I was the legacy CEO of MXO Tech, and I'm not in that role anymore, thankfully, because I have a lot less stress off of me. But I think about what does that mean for my employees, your employees, these employees, and I would love for you, maybe Kevin, Jay, or Mike to talk about how is AI going to impact that world?
Yeah, just real quick, I think my hope would be is that this makes us smarter. I know we all have you always hear like, oh, we have a shortage of workers today, right? Like everyone has a hard time hiring people. My hope is that this can help us with our gap in employment today. That would be my hope.
Maybe Jay could talk about how, that AI, what's gonna happen with AI. Some people are worried about jobs, that we're gonna eliminate jobs, right?
I'm not worried about the jobs as much as I am the fact that we need to have critical thinking. Read the output, understand what you're reading, to then decide, does this actually make sense, and will this apply to what we inquired about, right? It happens a lot. In the security space, we use it to help absorb threat intelligence and threat information. So, a typical business in North America with 50 employees, their business generates about 500,000 security alerts every month. Not that there's anything wrong, just things that happen on your network, logins to everything else that's going on, so we can sift through that data faster and more effectively, looking for threat actors may have already broken into a network. And from a service delivery standpoint, I know that Steve and I were talking about this, the ability to integrate this into call flows and call systems and being able to be more efficient in call routing in whatever your business is today. That's relevant and available. I know you've started to do that here as well. Why don't you mention that?
Okay, you wanna go there right
Yeah,
now? Okay,
sure.
let's do that.
I'll try to kind of wrap back in some of your other questions. So
Yeah,
what are
please.
we doing at Ntiva? So, and by the way, I'd love to hear from more of you, and as soon as this ends, I'll happily jump around between tables. I'd love to hear all the use cases that you're doing today, because they're truly fascinating, and every single one of them I wind up learning and growing from. And the hope from this evening, again, is that we're able to impart some knowledge to you all so that you're able to learn and grow from here. So at Ntiva, we've been at the forefront of this because we want to bring our clients these opportunities when they're still an advantage. So right now we have 2 tiger teams that are focused on this. The first is focused on internal efforts. So I'm going to just throw out one example that this team is working on. So one of the challenges that we have as a company with about 500 full-time people, most of whom are incredible technical talent, all who have specialties, is taking the requests that come in and quickly routing them to the right person in a quick and efficient way so that they can solve the problem fast, right? First call resolution is what that's called, and that's something that we are laser focused on improving. So right now, we've built and designed a system that we're in testing with right now. And the reason we're testing is we want to make sure there's some security holes that are addressed, and I'll explain that in a moment. But this system will take an email ticket that comes in, read it thoroughly, understand which technical resource is best suited to solve it, assign it to that technical resource, email the customer back a bespoke, a custom email, not an auto reply that says, thanks for your message, we'll get back to you in 24 hours or less. If this is important, call this number. A bespoke message that says, this has been assigned to this person, expect a response in this amount of time. If that doesn't work for you, please call, right? So that's the gist of what that will say. It gets to that technician, it prompts that technician with the first 3 troubleshooting steps using data from all the prior tickets that we've processed. And then get this one. This is brand new as of this morning. So we have a lot of left brain engineers that operate in ones and zeros. And sometimes they can't read emotional intelligence cues quite as well as we hope. So it will read the tone of that email and put red for the customer being pissed off, yellow for moderate, or green for them being just happy. And that then allows them to use the training that we've provided them in the programs that we have to teach them how to interact better, to actually apply that in the circumstance. So like, get your mind around that, right? So now we're gonna be able to route things quicker, resolve it faster, improve client satisfaction, and help our technicians who are challenged with understanding that tone make the right decisions in how to deliver service to those customers.
Steven, this is what it's sounding like to me, like Uber, where now we're gonna be rating our customers. So we're gonna be watching your mood.
I appreciate that sentiment, Joanna, but it's actually the opposite. We want to make sure that we understand your mood so that we can either keep you happy, or if you're not happy, make you happy.
Thank you for clarifying that.
And sometimes the engineers out there may not be able to do that on their own.
Well, so what I've heard, which I think all clients are excited about, is first call resolution, right? Like, I think all of you, tell me if you disagree, when you call in for a support ticket, you want to make sure it gets resolved on the first time, right? Give me a hey if you want that. All right.
So that's what we're doing inside of Ntiva with that Tiger team. That's just one example of some of the efforts they're doing. So now, as it relates to all of you, how are we going to bring this to you as it's a competitive advantage? So there's a couple of things that we're doing. We have a separate Tiger team that's part of the digital transformation practice that is prepared even to today to work with any customer to better understand their workflow and actually help build custom AI modules that can help take steps out of process and or do things similar to what I just described. We are already able to do this today. In addition to that, and we've heard, a lot of you are using ChatGPT. I just want to do a friendly warning. I'm the same guy that 10 minutes ago said everybody needs to be spending 15 minutes a day with it, okay? I stand behind that, but you have to be aware of some of the risks. What you put in there, okay, becomes permanent knowledge to this system. It grows, it gets smarter. I'll give you a quick example. We have a client that's in a claims processing. They work with mass tort litigation, so things like the BP oil spill or vaginal mesh or asbestos trusts all run through them. And they were just playing around because they've got lots of developers. We manage the systems that they have. They were just playing around, and they decided to see if it could make a slick for a drug they made up called Lexaplex, okay? So they put in this thing, they made this amazing script about Lexaplex that solves all these problems for people, high blood pressure, et cetera, et cetera. So that was left to the side. Meanwhile, they're testing out this artificial intelligence to speed up the claims processing process. Hey, from that BP oil spill, how much should that fisherman get who worked for 3 years and then couldn't for the next 2 and made $25,000 a year for those last 3 years? How can the artificial intelligence speed that up? Or, one of them got sick and was harmed by the oil. Like, what does that medical condition justify from that fund, right? So it's outputting the data, it's coming together well. Then they decide, hey, just creatively, let's take another step and say, hey, if somebody got sick, could we also, just for fun, make some recommendations on what they might be able to do to remedy their illness? And so it started outputting suggestions, which were awesome. And then somewhere in that data output, there was a recommendation for Lexaplex, which obviously was a completely made up drug. So just, again, friendly reminder, it can be confidently wrong, okay? So that's just another use case of what's going on out there today. It's super exciting. The other thing we want to be aware of is keeping this information private. So if we put in all of our board meeting notes, there is nothing that means that if somebody looks up, you know, in the board meeting we talk about, you know, the opportunity we had to acquire and merge with MXO. That's not public information yet, right? If somebody then puts that into ChatGPT and then a month later, hey, it says, hey, tell me what you know about Ntiva. It'll say, oh, Ntiva's about to acquire MXO, right? So like keep that stuff in mind as you do this. But we have a solution, and I have been super excited about this. And it's the private AI wrap around this. So this PCI, PHI, PII data can be automatically removed from all correspondence, and information that you are talking about with your company stays in your own module. And this is what's coming next. And right now we're at the bleeding edge of this, and we're gonna be able to provide this to our customers. It's still ChatGPT, and it has this wrap of privacy around it. The price point will be exactly the same as ChatGPT. It eventually will be all around the world, but we're gonna be able to bring this to you all before others have it.
Okay, so if I take the role,
Let me give you the microphone. I would love for you to introduce yourself, Michael.
Mike Crowe, Centrist Bank. So I have a long background in financial institutions, financial services, and all of the regulations around privacy. So I'm an examiner, I'm a bank examiner. How do you prove to me that this stuff, that all this information is private?
So,
And I'm a director.
Yep.
I actually am on the board of directors of a financial services company.
So
speak to me as if I was an examiner, and speak to me as if I was a board member. How do we know?
got it. So first and foremost, we are not at the point where I can confidently say you can use that in that scenario, because we're still in the infancy of this. Okay, so that's the first answer. I'll also share with you, I'm actually a director of a regional bank. I have the pleasure of having to deal with all of these technology situations, and let's spend time over a drink after this getting into all of it, because we're all about seeing what we can do to leverage AI in this model. I'm gonna hand this over to Jay, who's like chomping at the bit here to answer your questions. Here we go.
This is why I had Jay fly all the way out here. Go, Jay.
So he's right, you can't. But from the auditor perspective, you go into one of your branches or into a bank that's being audited, and you no longer go through their compliance manual and all their handwritten and or documented data, and have to manually check, did we do everything we did? I can now take it in PDF form, read the PDF content, and then say, show me what has not been completed that's in this test, in this assessment. And so there is a use case right now that would make an auditor's job streamlined, more efficient, and then make recommendations coming out of it based on standards.
From a so you're talking from a workflow.
Correct, from a workflow. How much time when you go into a branch do you spend, or into any bank, auditing them? When I had my MSP and we were supporting banks, an auditor would spend about a week in every quarter in a bank. It could be different, but the concept of going through those books and the data, and now they can say, here's the results, and here's what they're missing, here's the risk, here's the red, yellow, green, so you can then know where to go focus your attention. But that's gonna happen, and I think that's where you're gonna see it.
And this is being built. This is being built right now, so those public models can provide you that information in a meaningful way, and it's coming, right? And if you were, let's just say Capital One as a very technology-forward bank, what they're doing is they're actually having their own AI modules that are completely closed to their ecosystem. That creates some limitations for them, but that's the solution today in a scenario like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but tomorrow, when years, as things go forward, all of these are gonna have these wraps around them, and again, we can talk more offline,
And
but
we'll
there's
get them
already,
up
there's
to
already
this.
things, yeah, there's already things that are being developed to do this.
Okay.
Thank you everybody. I think you've answered Mike's question, so I really appreciate that. Do we have any other questions? And Michael DePalma, did you want to add anything
No.
to the group?
I'd rather
Okay.
hear
Do we
from
have any other questions from the audience or comments? Because, I don't feel like we wanted to put a panel together to start this topic, but if there's anybody here who would like to add to it, we'd love to hear from you.
Who else has used it? I saw some
Yeah,
other hands up out
exactly.
there.
Who's using AI?
Yeah, you've got some more back in the room.
Okay, great. Charlotte?
Hi guys, I'm Charlotte, Director of Application Development. This is probably the loudest my voice has ever been. So, thanks for sharing. Very proud of being a part of Ntiva and the incredible things that we do here, not just application development, but also community impact. One of the incredible things we do is provide opportunities for communities who maybe their jobs are going away and they need a tech opportunity and a chance to learn a new skill. So that's something that we've been doing in states like West Virginia. I'm very excited to have internship for software development ramping up there. So I use ChatGPT to say, can you please write for me, from the perspective of a director of application development, best practices for how an intern should be communicating with senior developers with over 25 years of experience. And it did a great job. I had to make some edits, a little bit less robotic, but it saved me a lot of time for something that I'm sure I would have agonized over for about 3 hours. So, thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Actually, Kelly kind of gave me that same feedback about Ntiva's hiring process. I have one more question here for Haskell. Haskell, I'm going to turn that over to you. I'm coming.
Thank you. Haskell was CWG benefits. Our issue is the same thing with regard to security. Where is this critical data going and how can it be retrieved? But what we do use it for is to review contracts, even our own contracts. We fire it up there and say, give us the pros and cons from a buyer's perspective on our own contracts. In reviewing contracts, if we have a new client that we're going after, give us a summary of everything that's on it. Give us a one-page summary of this website. So we use it generically, but it's helped a lot.
Thank you, Haskell. Jay, do you want to, you walk over there?
Another gentleman in the back of the room had.
Okay, yep, coming. Hi, Alpha, yes. Please introduce yourself.
Andre Vassar, Alpha Tools. I too have it open all the time. Anything I find myself doing more than once, there's ChatGPT. What's a one-liner, PowerShell command, Python script will do this for me. If it works, it works. If not, you just gotta be patient with it. Tell it what the error is. It'll work.
I love that. Anything that you do more than once, use ChatGPT. Thank you. Anybody else have any comments, questions? Okay, we've got yeah. I'm sorry, I missed you. Sorry about that. Hi, Dave.
Hi all. So I'm glad I'm not an IT practitioner because the notion of artificial intelligence and cybersecurity really scares me as an IT seller, a solution seller. So I guess I'm just curious, artificial intelligence bots now entering the cybersecurity game, how do I, as an advisor of clients, get ahead of that? Because that I feel like we're gonna have bots fighting bots.
It's gonna. Have any of you heard of the term zero trust? It goes back to the concept I said before, protect every user, every device, and location, etc. You're gonna have to get there. And you're gonna have to control what applications are allowed to run or execute in environments so that you are only allowing trusted people with trusted assets running trusted applications and everything else is turned off. So you don't allow access to anything else, and as leaders, a lot of you wanna know the administrative password, you wanna be an administrator. Not anymore, we're past that. You're moving on beyond that. You can have the password for a different account, locked up in the safe for emergencies, but beyond that, you're not really doing that. And so it's gonna come down to working with your clients and with the community to understand where the risk is and what it looks like. And I'm gonna go back to the Uber comment before, because it was kind of interesting to me. I saw a slide at RSA, which is a big security conference every year this year, where somebody posted up and said, in 1998, it was, do not meet people on the internet. Now in 2023, we use the internet to call strangers to get in their cars. So we're going to have to develop these skill sets. I think Stephen's on point where this is not going away. This is not like when we first got the internet, when AOL, you got email, and Prodigy, and InfoSeek and Google came out. This goes way beyond that, and again, with critical thinking and with planning and structure, again, don't do the same task twice manually. You can work towards this and solve these issues, but it's a team effort. And it's gonna be a team sport all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I have one more question. Do you wanna go, Stephen? Okay, we have one more question here, Felicia, right? Okay, thank you.
I just wondered when the wraparound will be ready, like how soon? I have a lot of contracts to review. And I wondered, how long does it take to learn the language of AI to be a really good reviewer and analyst of what you're saying?
That's a great question.
I love that question.
Great question. So
the
the privacy wrap that I'm referencing that strips out the PCI, PHI, and PII, we have ready to go today, but we're gonna plan to release it just to our clients in the next 30 days, so that's gonna be an offer. And then at some point, we're gonna release it beyond that. But that will allow you to review contracts and things like that. It does not address, is everybody familiar with the concept of data lakes? So that's the idea that you can get AI to look at all of your information, and then you don't need all of these business intelligence database and super smart analysts to figure out meaning from that, and you can literally ask questions and it'll pull it all together. That type of solution where your internal data is stored requires additional consultative effort and creating your own instance of these that are firewalled off from everything else. That too is available today, but requires consultative work. So if you'd like to do that, reach out to your account manager and we'll work with you to figure out the use case and help. But to the contract review and make sure the name and the information and the data isn't included, that's gonna be, we are using it today at Ntiva, and we're going to be bringing it out to our customers in the next month. And honestly, that's something that came from a company that Microsoft has invested in, and we're going to be the first to bring that to market. So we're very, very excited about that. Did that cover your questions? That's awesome. And to the how do you learn to be an expert? I don't think I answered that one. Actually, I've asked our marketing team, which by the way, marketing is another huge great use of this tool. I think the first time Holly, who I enjoyed working with for 6 years, we have a press release. We brought in a new board member. Usually it takes us 3 hours to write it and a couple edits back and forth. We just threw in the bullet points. It got an output almost immediately. We did 20 minutes of editing and we went from there, right? So that's another great use. But in terms of learning, our marketing team is actually developing a one-pager that we're going to send out to all of you tomorrow, or not tomorrow, in the next week.
Well, Stephen would like it to go out tomorrow, and Holly will tell you within the next
We'll get it out in the
2
next
weeks.
week, but it's going to give you some things you might not be thinking about. Prompts, different ways to use it, just some basic stuff, including prompting it to tell you how to use it, right? Chew on that one. But I'm going to come back to my initial suggestion. We're going to give you that, and it's going to accelerate you, but please, 15 minutes a day. It doesn't have to just be work related, just anything that you're doing. You need to get your oil changed on your car, ask a question about it. You'd be shocked what you can learn and how quickly you can learn how to use this tool better.
Thank you, Stephen. As I'm about to wrap up, I did not pre-warn the panel about this, but I've been on panels before, and I always feel like, oh gosh, there's one dang thing I forgot to say. So I'm gonna start with Mike. Is there this one dang thing you forgot to say that you would like to just share with everybody here today?
I guess the one thing that was in my head as we were listening to some of the questions from the audience, and the idea of, is this gonna replace people? I don't think it's gonna replace people, it's gonna replace tasks, as was mentioned, right? So, I think it'll expand people within your organization to do the things that actually are either entertaining to them or that they're really strong at, and eliminate some of that really basic stuff. It's like how spell check was, right? We all still know how to spell things, but how much faster do you go now because you have spell check? That's what these type of tools are going to do. So there's this fear of it. We live in the security world, so yes, I'm always very scared of the security side, but the productivity side of this is what's really exciting, and I think that's what Stephen's very passionate about.
That is a great analogy, because I suck at spelling, and when that thing came around, it changed my life. Jay, on to you.
Trust but verify. I mean, there's so much to learn, so much to understand, and over time it will get better, we will get smarter, we will be better at it. You apply some critical thinking to it, you'll be okay. Again, it's something we have to do together. So I'm gonna kind of ironically talk about his product. Make sure you're backing up that work too. Because you've got a solution to back up those processes and those things you're putting in place. So if something bad does happen, cyber, hardware failure, what have you, then you've got a way to recover.
Thank you, Jade. It was very noble of you, because I know you two are big competitors. So thank you for sitting next to each other and for recognizing your colleague. Kevin, I'm going to pass it on to you.
I am someone who took Stephen's advice in our meeting one day, and he challenged our executive team to look at this thing 15 minutes a day. I had looked at it prior, and I was too busy talking to customers, doing all that stuff. And he said, you really need to look at this. And I did. I literally that day signed up for ChatGPT, went to the website and signed up, and it is absolutely fascinating. To me, like when I got out of college, email was a new thing, right? It was like, oh my gosh, what's email? When Google came out, it was like, oh my gosh. To me, this is like the next evolution of when the Google search just came out, right? This is like a whole new evolution. That's the way I'm looking at it. And I think I agree with the team here, like embrace it, because it'll absolutely be part of the future. I'm sure, you're young, if you have kids, I'm sure they're using it, right? Or looking at it in different ways. So it will definitely be their future for sure. So yeah, if you know just as much as your kids, that's a cool thing.
Yeah, look, there's a lot here, and I'm gonna try to just put it into one piece. This stuff makes me nervous too, okay? There's economic impacts, there's societal impacts, I think about people and purpose, right? And hey, you could literally remove an individual, like somebody who spent their entire life doing something can now be done in seconds by artificial intelligence. That scares me, okay? But it's here, it's not gonna be put away, okay? So I would encourage you, and I don't need to get psychological here, but replace that anxiety with curiosity, okay? And then let's all be the leaders in this room that are using this as a competitive advantage today and doing it in a responsible way so that we can be the trendsetters here, okay? There's gonna be a lot of bad actors that use this too. It's already happening. We need to lead by example. We need to enable the right way, okay? And let's turn that anxiety into curiosity.
Thank you, Stephen. So I want to thank our panel today. I hope everyone here enjoyed it. It's something a little different. Michael, Jay, Kevin, and Stephen, thank you so much. I hope everybody appreciated what this conversation was about tonight, because I think we need to be having it. So big round of applause for this panel. Before I even announced it, I was worried, I said to the panel, we practiced ahead of time, and I said, what if no one asks any questions? I'm like, well, let's just bribe them with prizes. But these lovely ladies didn't need any bribery, so here's a gift card to this amazing Gibson's. Julie, this is for you. We're also gonna have a raffle in a little bit, but we want everybody to enjoy some dinner and just conversations around the table. I don't want you to leave, but if you do have to skip out early, please grab a bottle of wine. It was a hand selection with me and Jay today, this afternoon. That's what he did, because he flew in early, and I said, Jay, come pick some wine out with me, and he did just that. And then Holly, who's the Vice President of Marketing here at Ntiva, and Cessin put together these lovely gift bags for everyone. So don't forget to take that on your way out. But in the meantime, enjoy your dinner, enjoy conversations. Please feel free to ask any of these fine gentlemen here questions that you might have. And then we're gonna do a raffle. Oh, and another surprise before you leave, so don't head out yet. Jay, did you want to say something? Oh.
You could have a mic, I don't know. Oh.
I've got that covered, Jay, but thank you for having my back. All right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your dinner. Bon appetit.